Hi guys, I'm Mosugu. Welcome to the Money Rant Show. Today we're on chapter 3 of the book, Oracle on Board. Come with me on this journey as I take you through 21 chapters of this book. This is a Faith for Entrepreneurs series. Join me as we explore this book. It is my pleasure to invite you to the Money Rant Show. So the third chapter is Oracle on Board. The phrase comes from an experience I had in 2015, traveling with my family from the US back to Nigeria. So the last leg was Frankfurt, Abuja, and by the time we got to Abuja, by the time we arrived in Nigeria, there was so much bad weather. So the plane was, pitching and bucking. It was kind of traumatic for a lot of people. You can imagine what would go on in the aircraft, people praying, shouting Jesus. Anyway, we landed, round of applause for the pilot. That's after circling for about 40 minutes. It was just the talk on everybody's mouth by the time we got to custom immigration to get into Nigeria. And while we're there, just at the desk, the lady close to me said, I knew that everything would be fine because there was an Oracle on board. I'm like, huh? Oracle on board? And I really did not know what she was talking about. I'm like, what do you mean, Oracle on board? And she was like, yes, now that there was a man of God or a cleric on board. So she knew that everything would be fine. And I was like, wow. And right then I saw something that I see a lot of believers do, a lot of people do. And that is to abandon their faith to somebody else in life and death situations. Let me start by quoting, the book of James. It says, is any of you afflicted? Let him pray. Let him do his own praying. We are instructed from scriptures to take responsibility for our own lives, for our own well-being, for our own safety, and definitely for our own prosperity. You take responsibility. Don't abandon it to someone else or for someone else to do for you. You see that so much. I'm reminded of a story with a particular brother. It's a friend of mine. I've known him since campus, and he set up an establishment, in a major town in Nigeria. And we're at a program, and he asked the men of God that were in that program to come over to, to pray for him, etc., etc. And we got there, and when I got there, as he was taking us on a tour around his facility, there are certain things that I see. I know there are red flags, and alarms were going off in me. I'm like, something is wrong. And when we're done with the tour and all the prayers were done and the men of God were leaving the facility, I kind of drew back and told him that I need to see you, there's things going off here. I cannot tell you that God told me, but I just by observation. Look, this is, for example, you already had too much staff, for example, and you're just starting. I don't think this business has capacity to sustain this, And he just kind of brushed me off, frankly, and said everything was fine. Well, 1 year later, I began to hear of how much trouble he was in. 2 years later, by the third year, basically the business was broken off, but had collapsed, for lack of a better word. And I felt so bad about it. But a lot of people kind of think that because people have prayed, or because, they are giving to this ministry, or they are supporting this person or this church, or whatever is your that you take solace in, you think that because of that you're going to prosper or your prosperity will be sustained. No. You have to take personal responsibility. Your faith has to be engaged in all these things. It has to be engaged. It has to be you. There's something I like to say, that God is not a community God. God is not a community. God is a personal God. When it all comes down to it, it is just you and God. So as much as you have a community to support you, to encourage you, to help you, to be there for you, at the end of the day, it's just you and God. God is not a community God. God is a personal God. So take responsibility. That's God's desire for you. That's what he wants for you. And as you do that, then you will see changes in your life. There's a scripture in the Bible, I'm going to read here from the book, John 5, verse 6. It's about this man who had been in this condition for 38 years. Now, so you can imagine this man at the pool of Bethesda. He's been there for 38 years. And Jesus asks him, amplified, do you want to become well? Are you really in earnest about getting well? Well, it will seem like common sense that, yeah. But, a lot of people, they're in a situation long enough, but they really, really don't want to become well. They don't really want to become free from whatever thing is holding them down. But it's interesting that Jesus should ask him this question. But because previously, he complained to Jesus that, I don't have any man that will push me into the pool when the angel comes and troubles the water. You see, this man did not take responsibility for his life. He had already shoved it off because he didn't have anybody. And people are still talking like this today. Why are you not doing well? I didn't come from a rich home. Why are you not doing this? My uncle that promised me this and that. Take responsibility. Stop looking at men. Look to God. Take responsibility for your life. And like Jesus is asking, same way he asked this man for 38 years has been in a particular condition. Jesus is asking you right now, do you want to become prosperous? Do you want to become healthy? Do you want to to have good well-being? Are you really in earnest about getting well? Take responsibility for your life. Thank you for watching. I'm Mosi Mosugu, and I will see you in the next chapter.